now we're going to discuss the most important resource of all, our people. As you heard, it's prosperity, partnerships, but at the center of that is people. When we're talking about energy transition, when we're talking about financing, they are at the center of that. So local content is more than just procurement. It's a powerful economic multiplier. We're going to hear from our panel about what companies are doing to prioritize local sourcing. We're going to look at how they're going to generate that multiplier effect. So when companies prioritize local sourcing, it does do that through employment, and we're going to see what skill strengthening companies are coming up with, supply enterprise development is underway, as well as how they're contributing to the country's GDP beyond taxes and royalties. While some of my panelists are getting mic'd up, those of you who are, I'd like to invite you to come closer up to the room. We're going to see what this panel has to offer just in terms of, let me just give you the background of it, the framing of it. It is looking at collaborative leadership, operator strategies for local content development. How can operators collaborate, particularly in terms of governments, communities, local businesses coming together to build capacity? How are they going to create jobs, as I mentioned, enhance skills, ensure that local content developments become a cornerstone of Africa's energy transition? Our moderator today for this particular event, Onyejekwe, who's a founding partner of Kanflooens, she's going to lead the panel. Her panel is going to be made up of Bolaji Ogundare, Group Executive Director, Pan Ocean and the Newcross companies. Chris Ijeli, FNSE, MD and CEO, Dorman Long Engineering and Limited. Lesti Ayeva is CTO, Ashrami Energy, as well as Uzo Nwagu, GM Supply Chain and Business Services, and finally Kofo Olagunji, General Manager, Security, Government and External Relations. Owando, if I could all ask you to please come through, and you have 45 minutes for the session. You'll see the timer is up there, and when you're done with the conversation, please stand by for a photo op. Thank you. Let me hand over to you, Angie.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session. I think it's quite fitting that on Nigeria's Independence Day, we get to talk about the experience of Nigeria and local content. Nigeria continues to be a learning board and a sounding board for a lot of within the region in terms of best practices in bringing the small, medium enterprises into the entire value chain. We have 45 minutes. I expect a really, really robust conversation. We have a very diverse panel, very seasoned leaders who have proven their worth in all. And so they bring a lot to this conversation in terms of diverse but complementary aspects. So let's frame this conversation a little bit so that we can have a real productive one. I did a bit of research. It says Nigeria's energy industry has steadily increased its local content footprint, with recent data showing that we have indigenous participation across the entire value chain, which approximately 56%. Now, this milestone reflects many things, maybe a stronger enforcement of our Industry Content Development Act. Maybe we have great vendor development programs. Surely there is a robust collaboration between the regulators and the operators, and maybe just the sheer determination of Nigerian companies to be part of the entire value chain. So we're going to talk about what it means to be able to move it up a notch. So how do we take it from 56% to 66% in 2027? So we're not just talking milestones. We're going to be talking about what do we need to do to bring momentum to this. We don't want to talk about numbers anymore. we want to talk about how to bring impact, that the small guy feels it, can see that things are happening. So, framing, when we talk about, let's let the discussion be around jobs, skills, and how to continue to create a thriving environment that the players can continue to play. That would be the framing around the questions. So we'll go, I want to start with Kofo first. Owando, you do a lot around stakeholder management. You've invested a lot in community relations, right? And so how do you measure your small and medium enterprise, the inclusion into the programs? What are some of the measurements that you use?
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, NJ.
You're going to speak up.
I think it's apt that we're actually sitting here on Nigerian Independence Day. So one of the first things is really we have to tell the truth to each other. And the first truth to every one of us here is that no one is going to come and save the African continent, nor is anyone going to come and save Nigeria. That's the first thing. I think since 2003, when we had the first marginal field bid round, what we have seen is a diversification by the IOCs to indigenous players. And that in itself has been quite remarkable. I mean, what it has given is, it has given the indigenous players the opportunity and the ability to be able to show what they are capable of. So when you look at it in that sense, local content can no longer just be a tick in the box. It must be the springboard for development, not just within the oil and gas community, but also Nigeria as a whole. So if we look at the statistics, I know you said you don't like statistics, but I have to give you these statistics. So if you look at it now, 50% of the oil production comes from indigenous companies. 40% of the oil reserves, indigenous companies. 50% of gas reserves, indigenous company. 50% of gas production, indigenous companies. So that we're sitting here still talking about local content is a bit confusing to me, because if you look at it, earlier on today, when we had the NORGID secretary, he spoke about their future. I mean, you've also mentioned the stat. In 2016, we had 26% in terms of local content. Today, we have 57, and his hope is that in 2027, it'll be 70%. Now, if you do the maths, between 2016 and 2025, all you have seen is 3% increase in the terms of local companies. And so, again, when I started this discussion, I said we need to be truthful. And more importantly, we have to be able to understand that when we set targets for ourselves, they have to be realistic. Now, when you look again at the acts that have come out, the Nordic Act, for instance, which essentially tells you how to build capacity, or the PIA Act, which was passed about 4 years ago, that gives you the opportunity to be able to leverage on monies to the communities. But it's deeper than that. I mean, for us at Owando, we have over 360 communities. We have hundreds of vendors. Our footprint is so vast, it cuts across 4 states. But what we have been able to do very quickly is to understand that community development, vendor registration, local vendor registration, skill acquisition is essentially very important. Because you know why? They are your first line of defense for absolutely anything that's going to occur to you. Once they understand what shared prosperity is, then they're willing to give you whatever it takes to make your life successful. But even more importantly, they also have to understand consequences of naughty behavior, consequences of good behavior. I mean, for us, this year, for instance, 2,538 bursaries, 84 scholars. So we're constantly trying to win the minds and soul of those who we work with. And I say work with deliberately, because we have had to be very deliberate in terms of how we manage our freedom to operate. We can all go out and get license to operate. But license to operate does not get your barrel to the bank. Freedom to operate gets your barrel to the bank. So it has been a deliberate, conscious effort by us at Owando to be able to manage the community, our stakeholders. And the proof is in the pudding. I think this year alone, we've been able to double production since we took over this asset in August. We have minimized the security risks. We have had fewer blockades. Why? Because we have been able to win the minds and soul of our communities and those stakeholders who we truly hold dearly.
Thank you. So you bring up a good point about being very intentional and deliberate. So Bolaji, we know that Pan-Ocean, Newcross, very into gas processing. Can you tell us, as you look to scale the gas processing in this decade of gas and indigenous operations, which gas and brownfield projects can serve as some test cases on how we can maximize our EPC and operations, and why? So give us the tea.
No, absolutely, and thank you very much again. At Pan-Ocean and Newcross Group, we are an exploration and production company, but we've also gone into gas processing and distribution of gas at the wholesale level. But one of the things that we realized very quickly in our gas, what I'll call the gas refining phase, was as an E&P company, we're really not well placed to run the day-to-day operations of a gas plant. And that is something that I always tell companies to recognize very quickly. What are your strengths? I don't think many companies can be as good as Owando, who are able to participate in the full value chain. But for us, while we have strategic investment in those sectors, we are not able to fully operate it and focus all our energy on exploration and production. So at our Ovade Ogarife gas plant, which is a 200 million scope gas plant, we quickly realized during the commissioning phase that as an E&P company, we're not optimized to run this efficiently the way gas refining works. And we're fortunate to audition a few indigenous companies in Nigeria who had expertise in running facilities like this. Fortunately, there was a company who came on as an O&M during the installation and commissioning of the plant, that we realized very quickly that this guy knew more about our plant than we knew about the plant. So it just made sense for us to bring them in. And I can say that, with all openness, that by them coming in and running this plant, efficiency has gone up over 50%. Production has gone up over 50%. Cost optimization has also significantly gone up, such that at the end of the day, because there is also a profit incentive, not just for the operator that has not come in, but for us, and also what I also say are the stakeholders in the community, we're actually at a point now where a gas plant that we thought it was an ambition to design for 200 million scoff, because less than a year and a half, the asset manager is less than a year and a half ago, we were barely scaling 70 million scoff. But by bringing in this operator, we're now touching 170, 180 million scoff, so that we are now at the point where we're trying to actually size up this gas plant. This is what I think is easy about this is, first of all, as an operator, we quickly recognize that we do have our weaknesses. We quickly identified an indigenous organization who could do this. We gave them all the empowerment that they needed in terms of financial support, manpower, initial support to set up the facility. So we seconded a whole bunch of our staff to them, and they were able to kick up very quickly and run this. So, and I think this is an easy one that clearly for us, the truth was at that process, we auditioned a few external companies out of Nigeria as well. But when we found a Nigerian company that was competent, it is important that you do not compromise on your standards in meeting your local content or local drive to increase participation. Once we found out that this local company met global standards, it was a no-brainer for us to work with somebody that we thought was aligned more in terms of pricing with us. In terms of growing this. And this is what I just think is a very easy example. We have quite a bunch of things like this in our organization, but we don't see increasing local content as something that must be enforced on us. We see as a long-term sustainability path to growth in Nigeria.
In the sense that know what you know and focus on your strengths, and you can easily outsource and find who can help you beef up what might be your weakness.
Absolutely.
So that takes me to Dorman. Dorman, you have a track record of that shows that Nigeria can deliver real high-spec fabrication in country, for the country. So what would be some of the fabrication, certification, maybe consortium models that will ensure that Nigeria can retain some of that engineering strength in home? So Engineer Chris, that's questions for you.
Thank you, moderator. First, I would like to make a little bit of differentiation on certifications and consulting. For certification, we have process certifications and we have product certifications. For process, you have to have your ISO 9001, 2015. You have to have ISO 45001 and 18001 for safety and occupational safety. Then for products, if we are talking locally in Nigeria, we have a couple of both international and local product certifications. For the local, we have the NCDMB product certification, which will license all the products we are doing. We also have our standard organization MANCAP certification, showing that you can produce certain packages and process equipment. Then for the international side, for fabrication, you must have your ASME U stamp, U2 stamp, PR stamps to certify your product to international standards. On the welding side, we also have the ISO 3834 for process welding. Then it doesn't stop there. Right now in Nigeria, we're also having institutes certifying producers, that's manufacturing producers, like the National Production Management Institute. So both personal products and process will have certifications back in Nigeria to support what we manufacture. Then coming to the collaboration side, the consortium. Right in Nigeria, we have various companies. I could just give an example. You know, many people think when you are collaborating is weakness. It's not weakness. Let's take the NLNG trains 1, 2, 3 to 6. We had Japanese JGs, that's the Japanese gasoline company. We had Islam Projetti. We have KBR. And we have Technip. These four companies came together to build the Nigerian NLNG plant, 1 to 6. So right there, we have a lot of companies doing so many things in Nigeria. And we could also collaborate across the boundaries in Africa. We will have those who are actually manufacturing process packages. We have those who are specialized for supply chain management. Then we have those who specialize in construction, installation, and commissioning. So we can get all these companies to collaborate and keep the EPC expertise both in Nigeria and Africa. So collaboration is not weakness. It is to bring the strengths of each of these companies and create value in country and also across the boundaries in Africa. So we, as Dorman, we've done this. We have even gone from Nigeria to Gabon to do work in Gabon, on recognition of then Shell Petroleum, presently Renaissance, to go and work in their facility, help them upgrade the plant they have in Gabon. We have also done a lot of work where we are collaborating with various individuals. Currently, we are trying to work in some of the prospects we have, collaborating internally in Nigeria, bringing everybody from engineering to fabrication to installation and commissioning. So that's where I will leave it for now.
All right, thank you for that education around certification. So Leslie, with Sahara, technology adoption is very much central to your upstream strategy, right? But technology plus being safe, how can that simultaneously deepen the technical skills and expand employment for our people? Is on.
All right. Thanks, Angel, for that question. We look at technology, Sahara perspective, as not just an enabler, but it's basically like the oxygen. And in order to apply technology and apply it safely, you've got to have structures and processes in place. And we've put all that in place. But what we've done is to look at, when you talk local content, we put it in two perspectives. There's what we call the local. So my community around where I operate, as well as the local service company, which is any Nigerian company that can produce. But what we've done is, irrespective of whether it's local or the local, we have our own standards that are based on international standards. So we pride ourselves on being a locally present but globally competitive company. And we've applied this such that anybody who comes to work for us, we already have standard technology and safety practices that they must adopt and work with. So the results of that, obviously, in the news you would have seen, we just went through 5 million man-hour safety across stream. And we're in land swamp, 4 or 5 different states. And we've actually been able to demonstrate that this activity and this record was achieved with more than 80% local content. And that local content, about 60 to 70% is the local community where we operate, and they are all working up to that safety standard. We're trying to take this to the next step. Beyond that, we are also developing the communities to be able to grow, not just to serve Sahara,
Yes.
but we have Sahara trained and adopted local companies that are now working for other companies around the industry in other places, such that when they come to work for us, they then become both nationally and really competitive. So that's our structure, and that's the way we approach it.
I like that distinction, local, and what was the second? Local, and
local service.
Local services. Thank you for that. So Uzo, with Heritage Energy, now Heritage operates a lot of key assets in the Niger Delta. And so there is a strong emphasis on stakeholder relations. So what are some of the procurement models or partnership that you found most effective? I know there are lots, but which ones have you found most effective in lifting the local participation across the entire upstream value chain?
Ngozi, thanks for that question. Just to kind of like set the scene, Heritage Energy is the operator of one of the country's largest onshore assets, that's OML 30. And when you take that into the context of the question they have asked, some of the models that we've tried out quite a couple, but I'll stick to the ones that have more so worked. And I certainly hope the fact that there are folks in the room that can take advantage of it. One is really around supplier clustering, right? When you cluster suppliers, it actually enables you from a company standpoint to de-risk, right? But at the same time, also get more smaller vendors to actually participate, right? So you can actually bring them together, address your performance risk, but as well, make sure the fact that you give them access to larger scopes. And I'll give one real example. As we have increased most of our drilling activities, we had to make a major OCTG procurement. Now, what we did was look at the scope, divide the scope a little bit, bring in a few more players, but make sure the fact that we align standards. With that, there were smaller vendors that typically would not have been able to be part of that structure that we're able to bring upon and make certain the fact that at the end of the day, we as a company win, they win as well from a participation standpoint, so clear win-win for the country. The other thing, and I'll use Leslie's point about like the local, right? We have been onshore. There are several vendors and communities that we mostly need to engage with. And by making them part of the pie, you actually ensure the fact that localization moves from a regulatory requirement to now one more so around sustainable imperatives. Whilst working with those companies, we have pretty much ring-fenced certain scopes of work, which we have engaged those particular community vendors. But whilst they work with us, make sure the fact that we grow with them. Now, as some of the SMEs that we have worked with continue to get better, one of the things that we have done, and actually start doing what I'll call slightly higher risk projects, some of which are like EPCIs. What we, beyond, or rather before we actually go to contract award, we actually invest intentionally into sessions with them to make sure the fact that we clearly understand their utilization of systems, process, as well as upgrading their talent to ensure the fact that from a project management standpoint, they've got the right kind of skills. From a project planning standpoint, are they using Gantt charts? Are they actually working closely with the OEM? Are we sitting in front of the OEMs themselves to ensure the fact that they actually have skin in the game, right? And those are intentional steps that companies like ours tend to more so move the dial. The last piece, which I think is a fundamental challenge for SMEs in Nigeria, is around financing, right? So we have intentionally engaged with certain banks to actually work with them to create financing and guarantee schemes that will ensure the fact that our suppliers have a chance to also addressing the financing constraints that could actually become a showstopper in their ability to also deliver. I'll stop there for now.
I mean, that's an interesting point. Being almost like a guarantor, promoter for the local companies so that they can also do business in Nigeria. I think that's a good concept. So we're going to play a game. I think someone said I need to, what was the word? Bring the party to the panel, right? Okay. So we're going to play a game. I'm going to say a statement and you complete it. Okay? So first statement, and we'll start this way. So Kofo, this way, right? Collaboration is a multiplier.
Must.
Collaboration is a multiplier.
That's the Owando DNA.
Oh, it's
Everyone's
a must.
Yeah?
It's a must. I just completed a sentence.
Leslie?
Definitely. Rather than
Exponential, okay. Engineer Chris? Collaboration is a multiplier. Bolaji, collaboration is a multiplier. Hyperbolic? Will you use your microphone so that they can hear? What do you mean by that? Hyperbolic.
Hyperbolic is, when you say multiplier, you will be saying like 2 times 2, 4 times 4. Hyperbolic is, very, let me use another word, exponential.
Okay.
So the value you are going to create is very exponential. It's hyperbolic.
Okay. Bolaji, collaboration is a multiplier.
I wish I understood a more English word. So I've been cracking my head since that. What else can I say? But really, the truth is, the only thing that comes to my mind that hasn't been said, it's a catalyst. And I say it's a catalyst because it's able to just enable so many things in many directions. So yes, I like to think of collaboration as a catalyst to even areas that you do not expect things to go into. But ultimately, it's all positive.
Okay, so you start off the second statement.
Oh,
The 10-point climb from 56% to 66% by 2027 is not only achievable, but also an opportunity for...
It's an opportunity, not just achievable, but it's an opportunity for economic independence by all parties. Why do I think of this? First, for the organization, it allows you to clearly optimize value that you're not thinking about. But more importantly, it's creating value for your local partners such that at the end of the day, everybody builds economic value for themselves.
Yes. So Engineer Chris, the 10-point climb, achievable,
It is,
but an opportunity for...
It's achievable, but it's an opportunity to deepen capacity and capability in country. Okay. And it lowers cost. Everybody is talking of cost is the issue. But the moment you increase that local content from 50, you look at it as 10%. It's really more deep than 10%. You are going to lower cost. You are going to be more efficient in the way you do things. even with that 10%.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lesty.
So, 10%,
Yes.
coming back to the exponential factor.
Achievable,
It is achievable.
but
and
an opportunity for.
it's an opportunity for exponential growth. Why exponential? So if you look at, we're from 56 to 66, but that's a national average.
Yes.
So what we need to think about is which are the companies ahead of the curve and make sure they don't slow down,
Mm-hmm.
and which are the companies that are coming and how do we help
Bring-
them to grow. So
That's-
we're focusing on that. So for example, we just went from 0 rig to a 7 rig company, starting
Wow.
from 0 to
To 7.
full capability.
Wow.
So that's why for us it's exponential, and this is all local.
That's a great point. Uzo, 10% climb.
It is achievable, but it's definitely going to take work. Work and just intentionality. But it truly gives us an ability to actually put together an ecosystem of world-class indigenous suppliers who can actually thrive beyond Nigeria, right? And be sought after. I mean, we use the case of Domalong that actually went on to do work in Gabon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that should not be a single narrative story. It should resonate, and we truly have the ability to do so.
Nice. Kofo, 10% achievable, but an opportunity for.
It's an opportunity for shared prosperity, because with shared prosperity, a lot of your above the ground issues actually just disappears. With shared prosperity, a lot of your security issues disappear. With shared prosperity, us as Owando, as the leading indigenous oil and gas energy company in Nigeria, for us, we have nowhere to run to. Nigeria is our home, and we want to see it succeed. So shared prosperity all day.
Good, I like that. Shared prosperity. When you win, everybody wins, the whole country wins, right? So you get to start to kick off the last statement.
Why do I feel you're picking on me?
Because you're far away.
Okay, so
So local content is no longer just about compliance.
local content is no longer about compliance. It has to be mandatory, and it has to be sincere. It has to be sincere. If it's not sincere, then we are literally, we won't be able to meet our targets, first of all. We'll be constantly lost in the data. I mean, we've gone a long way, but I think a lot can be done. There has to be a better understanding of the acts that are supposed to propel economic value. There has to be. Not only on a literate level, you have to go lower. You have to go into the communities and explain to them what's those acts. For instance, the Logic Act, what the PIA, what does it mean to them? That's one of the critical things that is actually missing in this whole conversation. Because if they don't understand, then
Sure.
you don't get anywhere.
That's right. So there's a bit of buy-in as well with the communities. So Uzo, local content is no longer about compliance, just about compliance.
Yeah, for us at Heritage and as well for our joint venture partners, it actually makes common sense. And for us, it's a sustainable business imperative, which we need to be intentional about.
Lesty?
Local content is not about compliance, and for us, it's never really been about compliance. It's been, apart from just a business enabler, it's something that must be done, must be a part of our
The business plan.
culture. The thing with compliance is compliance forces people to try to achieve minimum standards. Then you comply. But you've got to think beyond minimum standards and just think about what's good for the company and what's good for the country. And if you focus on that, then complying just becomes natural, but you're chasing something much higher.
So even pushing the envelope, being innovative as well.
Exactly.
Nice. Engineer Chris?
Well, from the standpoint of Dormalong, For us, local content is a business imperative. Let me just give a small
Please go ahead.
example. If you, right here in this hall, if you pour sugar on the ground, give it 2 hours, the ants will come to take the shit. So for us, it's business opportunity and it's business imperative. I'm saying so because we started well more than 20 years ahead of the act. We started doing things with some of the IOCs encouraging us. Some of the big things we did were before the act. We saw them as business opportunity.
Yeah.
So when the act kicked on, it emboldened us to go to those things we know we can do.
Exactly.
So for us, it's business imperative. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bolaji, local content?
So when I think about my organization, really for us, it falls within the premise of our ESG objectives. And when we look at our sustainability path, we see it as a key component to that sustainability. It's important that as an organization grows, you ensure that whether you call it wealth creation or competence creation, is spread across your environment and preferably among people who are co-stakeholders. We see people who work with us as our stakeholders. So it is not just something that is mandated on us. It's something that we believe is a key part to our sustainability as an organization.
Great point. You know, Kofo put something in my head, and I'm picking on you now. You said shared prosperity, right? And I'm also mindful of the clock, you know, ticking down. Shared prosperity, two-letter phrase, right? So I want you, as the panelists, to give the audience a key takeaway, a two-letter word, similar to shared prosperity, something that they can go home and chew on it a little bit around this session. That would be the takeaway. So, Bolaji, I'll start with you so that Kofo won't say I'm picking on him, right? So, like a two-letter something that.
So I'm going to paraphrase it,
Okay.
but it's all about sustainable growth.
Sustainable growth.
So when you think about local content and the way we think about it, the growth has to be sustainable both for the operating companies and for the companies that you want to work around. So that is why I say sustainable growth is probably the two words that I would like to leave both operators and contracting companies with. Thank you.
Okay. Engineer Chris?
I will take for us is bringing services closer to you. Making things
Your mic.
For us is making things easier for the operators, bringing services close to them. Things they will take maybe 1 month to get. You can knock on us and we're there within hours, not even up to 24 hours. We'll go to deliver service. It has created value for companies like us from construction to operation and maintenance. To date, we've been on this business sustaining our E&P companies that are providing opportunities for us. So it's creating more value. And from our own end, we're also creating value for service providers to us. So it's called sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Lester?
For Sahara, shared prosperity is actually wealth creation.
Okay, wealth creation.
The whole concept here being, while we're encouraging local partners and local communities to get into the business, they are getting in order to become wealthy participants in the oil and gas industry. If it doesn't make sense from an economic perspective, we won't stay and they won't come on. So the whole thing is about doing it in a way that we compete with international companies, beat their margins if possible by cutting out a lot of waste and therefore generate wealth for the
wealth creation at the end of the day. Uzo?
So, since everyone has picked up all the nice words, I think, look, for us, it's simply, if you don't mind, I'll use 3 words instead of 2. It drives inclusion. which is key for our local communities. And inclusion is important. Goes back to the shared prosperity story. It ensures resilience. Resilience regardless of where the price of Brent more so goes to. And third, and which is more so the most important because it actually looks at things even beyond the now, is that it ensures long-term competitiveness. Because as long as the ecosystem remains competitive, then this business is more so here to stay. Thanks.
Thank you. So, Kofo, you started it with the two.
Apparently. So I guess I should end it.
Yes.
I think my keywords would be effective collaboration. And it means it's a lot deeper than just a soundbite, because what that simply means is that all of the stakeholders in a certain sphere are all rowing in the same direction. So when I say effective collaboration, I'm talking about the government, I'm talking about the communities, I'm talking about everyone that is involved. So if we have effective collaboration, you know my perspective, I know your perspective, we can hash things out, we can put down a blueprint that again will result in shared prosperity.
Thank you for that. So, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you have it. They've given us a lot of things to chew. I wrote a lot of notes: sustainable growth, customer-centric, wealth creation, shared prosperity, drives inclusion, ensures resilience, long-term competence. We could talk about this the entire day, but again, I want to thank the panel for bringing your insights, your in-depth experience. You guys truly showcase that we can't do it on our own. Partnership is key. Being able to work hand in hand and also give feedback into the loop, into the regulators, to be able to influence policy as well, based on the things that you see on ground and in your business operations. So again, thank you for being part of this conversation and being part of this panel. And we end the panel. Thank you.